This court is back on the record. We'll take a motion on Court Order 16 dealing with leave of absence.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those who oppose, no.
I'm sorry, I beg your pardon. Those who oppose, no. So show Commissioner Press in the negative on that. On Court Order 11, the joint recommendation of District Attorney Craig Watkins and myself to join a lawsuit against Governor Rick Perry on behalf of the citizens of Dallas County. I will amend that to allow for the amendment of the legal services contract. And with that amendment, I will move this court or move that motion for Dallas County to authorize the district attorney to hire Brazel and Dunn as his co-counsel and join as a plaintiff in that lawsuit. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Yes, sir, Judge.
You want to do it at the press conference? You want to do it here?
I'll do it here. This needs to be debated in open court. And I have questions to ask of our elected district attorney and Mr. Dunn. With regards to Dallas County becoming involved in this lawsuit, I have the petition here, the one that was filed in Corpus Christi, the United States District Court, the Southern District of Texas, Corpus Christi Division. Just so that I make sure I understand, Mr. Watkins, you're asking Dallas County to join in this lawsuit to challenge the voter ID bill, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And this is the lawsuit that was originally brought by Martin Vesey and others, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And this lawsuit started out in Seattle, in Washington, D.C., is that correct?
Well, it's technically a different lawsuit on the same facts.
But the same parties,
Yes, many.
many of the same parties. You've added, and Mark Vesey is a plaintiff in this particular lawsuit on the voter ID.
Among others.
Okay. And it states here in count number 31 of your plea, plaintiff Mark Vesey is an elected African-American congressman from Fort Worth, Tarrant County, Texas. Although he brings his suit in his individual capacity, enforcement of Senate Bill 14 will cause plaintiff Vesey to suffer additional costs in running his re-election campaign and will make it more difficult for him to persuade and turn out voters to support his candidacy and the candidacies of other candidates whom he supports or aligns. Then you also have, as far as Dallas County, a plaintiff that historically has been the judge's paid political consultant, and she's a plaintiff in this lawsuit also, is that correct?
And the original suit, yes.
Okay. And it states here, plaintiff Jamie Hamilton is an African-American resident of Dallas County, Texas. Plaintiff Hamilton has and continues to politically organize her community and turn out voters in elections. Implementation of Senate Bill 14 would harm plaintiff Hamilton's ability to adequately turn out citizens candidates she supports, should say probably citizens for candidates she supports, and therefore harm plaintiff Hamilton's constitutional rights. So that's the Dallas County plaintiff, is that correct?
At this time.
Okay. And Mr. Watkins, you're asking Dallas County to join, and for what cause of action?
Judge, I'm sorry, Commissioner. Once we join this lawsuit, then we will amend this petition, and then we will include issues that relate to Dallas County.
Okay.
Obviously, our position is that the constituents, voters of Dallas County, if this voter ID law stays in effect, unfairly treated. And so, with us joining that lawsuit, it gives this lawsuit the ability to bring in so many other plaintiffs and so many other issues that are not in this current suit.
Okay. If this is a voter ID case,
Yes.
and it's specifically regarding an individual's ability to vote
Yes.
and the potential to disenfranchise that voter when they go to the polls because they may not have a voter ID. They may not have an ID.
Yes.
Okay. So what statutory or constitutional authority do you have, or does Dallas County have, to come in and to represent a class of citizens within Dallas County?
Well, I mean, I'm given the statutory authority to represent the citizens of Dallas County.
Okay, when there's a complaint filed in a criminal case, or you're filing a suit against individuals or others on behalf of the county,
Yes,
and so are you suing the state of Texas?
we're suing the state of Texas because this directly impacts the class of voters in Dallas County. I represent those voters, and so I am in a position to sue the state because those voters will be disenfranchised.
Okay, what gives you that authority, is what I'm asking.
I am
That is an individual right. All the parties today that are involved in this lawsuit in Corpus Christi are individuals, is that correct?
at this point, yes,
Okay?
but this lawsuit will be amended to include Dallas County, and the
No.
fact that our constituents will be directly impacted by this voter ID law.
Okay,
And so
so,
I'm given statutory authority to represent the citizens of Dallas County. The Texas statutes need that,
okay, and what is the lawsuit for?
not to disenfranchise these voters.
Okay. So, how do you have the authority to sue the state without getting their permission?
Well,
Yeah, there's Supreme Court decisions on that, and this suit is based on federal law and state.
I understand that, but you're relying on the 1982 case of Seattle, Washington ISD, is that correct?
That's one of the authorities.
Okay, and that's where they actually sued the state. Your lawsuit is against the individuals,
Well, it was in that case as well.
against the individuals.
Yeah, there's
Federal
been some
court.
change in the last 20 years in procedure as to whether you sue the governmental entity or just the officer, so that's evolved since 1980.
Okay. Okay, let me go up this way. Mr. Watkins, let me say that, let me ask you this question. Let's say that a commissioner had a personal friend that needed some work done on their personal property. They wanted to dig a stock tank. So the commissioner said, okay, I'll come over and dig the stock tank because I think it's in the best interest of the community to have that stock tank there. They go on private property, dig the stock tank, use the county resources to do a private.
This is not a private lawsuit.
Okay, well, let me, I'll
And with all due respect, it's not a stock tank.
Judge,
This
let me,
is the
Oh.
voting rights of
Okay, Judge.
Latino and African-American citizens, and I can tell you.
Judge, are you gonna enforce the rules that you voted on for decorum? I've got the floor.
You got
Are you
the
gonna
floor and
interrupt?
you're talking about a stock tank.
I'm trying to do an analogy, and I'll get to my point. Are you gonna enforce the court rules?
Let's get to the point.
Are you gonna enforce the court rules? In other words, I'm not gonna continue on if you're gonna continue to interrupt me anytime you don't like what I'm saying. That's all I'm asking.
You've talked for about 10 minutes, get to the point.
So now that we have limits on the time that we spend,
Commissioner, get back to your point.
okay. The stock tank. So a personal friend asked a commissioner to go dig a stock tank on private property, they do it. Is that against the law?
Judge, Commissioner.
I'm just asking, is it against the law?
Commissioner, I don't think that's a proper analogy. We're talking about.
Just say the scenario, not, let's leave the voting
I mean,
rights.
I
voting
can answer
rights.
that scenario because we're talking about a class of individuals that will be affected by state law. And as the DA of Dallas County, I have the responsibility.
As
to
the
protect those.
DA of Dallas County,
I have the
if
responsibility.
an elected official goes onto someone's private property and uses county money, county resources to do private work, is that against the
What
law?
does that have to do with this lawsuit, Judge?
If you, I'll connect it up. Just say, answer, is it against the law?
What does it have to do with the lawsuit?
I'll show you as soon as you answer that question. It's a real
I'm
simple
not answering the
question.
question.
If you're gonna take county resources and go to private property to do some work for a private, a personal friend, is that against the law?
If I use county resources, to do that, obviously, but I'm not,
Okay.
we're using county resources.
And those
to protect
individuals can
the
be
citizens.
prosecuted, is that correct?
We're using resources to protect the citizens of Dallas County.
Okay.
And so we can go down this rabbit trail all we want.
Well, I'll connect it up and give you the
But
opportunity.
the issue is about
That's all I'm asking for,
disenfranchising
is the
voters.
opportunity
And
to
so
connect it
can
up.
we stick to the issue?
I will.
And talk about.
I will. It's
disenfranchising
a very direct analogy, because in that example, it's a personal friend asking somebody to come in and do something with county funds to benefit that personal person, that friend. And it's just like this particular case. You have an individual, Ms. Hamilton, that is a personal friend, a paid consultant, that is asking for you to come into this lawsuit. And you're going to use county funds to involve Dallas County in that lawsuit to fund this lawsuit.
We're using county funds to sue on behalf of the citizens of Dallas.
You can categorize it any way you want to,
But
but
you're gonna say,
Okay.
okay, an issue of Jane Hamilton, when this issue.
Take any of them.
This issue is
Any
really
of them.
about the citizens of Dallas County, not Jane Hamilton. She just happens to be one plaintiff in a lawsuit.
You made your point. and
Okay.
Since you mentioned that Jane Hamilton is a.
Judge, once again, are you going to take away the ball over here? I mean,
Since you mentioned that Jane Hamilton is a paid consultant of mine, I just want to clarify that you are mistaken. Ms. Hamilton is not a paid consultant of mine. She is a friend of mine.
has she been a paid consultant?
She has worked on my campaign in the
Has
past.
she been a
and I
paid
paid her
consultant?
for that years
She's a
ago.
paid consultant.
All right.
Okay. Are you
This,
saying you're not going to use her for the next election?
that is correct, I'm saying that.
Okay.
She's a fine person and an outstanding human being, but this is not about Jane Hamilton. And with all respect,
She's a
it's
plaintiff.
not about Mike
And she's
Cantrell.
only the plaintiff, she's the
It's
only
about-
plaintiff in Dallas County.
It's about Latino and African American
You can keep saying it,
citizens
Judge.
in Dallas County. There are 220,000 people in Dallas County who currently don't show an ID on their forms when they register to vote. There are tens of thousands of Dallas County citizens who won't be able to vote under this restrictive new law. That's what it's about. It's not about Ms. Hamilton or a pothole or a stock tank. Look,
Well, you can categorize any that you want to. I'm trying to make a point. The taxpayers of Dallas County are fixing to be funding a lawsuit that other elected officials across the state and individuals, paid consultants, congressmen, JPs, constables, commissioners, and just ordinary citizens, that we're fixing to be paying for that lawsuit. No matter which way you cut it, we're going to be paying for that lawsuit. If this court votes this in today, by the motion that you're making, it's going to be a blank check for today. It's going to be a blank check. We don't know what that check's going to be. This court doesn't know what the check's going to be.
let me clarify that because that is incorrect. We are authorizing the DA to hire a law firm that has no recourse and is not charging us attorney's fees. Any future expenditures of money regarding hiring experts or spending money will be brought before this court for this court's consideration and a separate vote. So today, the vote is not merely because it is a historic and an important thing, but it is to allow the district attorney to proceed to add Dallas County to this lawsuit to be a plaintiff against Rick Perry in his official capacity to protect the voting rights of tens of thousands of Black and Latino voters in Dallas County that will be disenfranchised if this law goes into effect and their rights are not protected. That's what this is about today. It's not about money, it's not a blank check, it's about protecting their rights.
Well, the contract that you're signing says to Mr. Dunn, whatever amount you collect from the state, whatever amount the judge awards, if you prevail in this case, you get all of it, minus whatever costs. Is that not correct? In other words, it could be $10 million, and that law firm would get that fee. Is that correct?
The way
Am I wrong?
the way that these cases work is if they prevail, then the judge would ask them to show their expenses and their reasonable attorney's fees, and the judge, in her discretion or his discretion, would make an award of attorney's fees. And all that contract represents is that you're not going to come back as the client and ask for a portion of the attorney's fees that your attorneys expended and waited to be paid for if and only if they prevail in their case.
But that's the case with all civil rights lawsuits. Okay?
Then the answer was simple. All he had to do was say yes. In other words, if it's 10 million, Mr. Dunn gets 10 million.
Yeah.
Now, I'm just trying to make a point. It's on top of the cost. In other words, Dallas County is going to incur costs on this. Mr. Dunn, how much do you anticipate if you do the case that you think you ought to do, prepare, in order to prevail? Just give me a ballpark.
I believe that will be discussed later today, and he's going to actually give you
So
the information that you need to make a proper decision on how much you're going to file this lawsuit.
Mr. Dunn, you've done these lawsuits in the past, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So you have historical knowledge of what it generally takes to prepare a case, to provide expert witnesses, and to present the case, is that correct?
That's all true.
Okay, so ballpark me. $500,000, $2 million?
Well, one of the things, there's no way for me to answer that question without getting into discussions that would be privileged and were part of the executive session. What I can tell you for now is that in the future, when we come to the Commissioners Court with a budget, the Commissioners Court can choose to fund some, none, or all of that budget. But that budget will be exclusively expenses, things paid to experts, filing fees, document production costs, nothing that goes to my firm or any of the other lawyers working on the case, solely expenses related to litigation.
Mr. Watkins, I want to go back and let's see if I can try this again. If it's a violation to use public dollars in a private lawsuit, in other words, if Dallas County has no standing in the lawsuit, how is that different than going and building a stock tank? In other words, you're taking county dollars, intervening in a lawsuit that we have no standing in, because we're not an individual with
Well,
a
you're already
right.
at the Supreme Court at this point. The Supreme Court has already determined that a county can sue a state.
Okay.
So,
Well, now wait a minute. I'm arguing about individual capacity. What authority do you have, does Dallas County have to become a party to this lawsuit?
I have statutory authority to represent the citizens of Dallas.
For what cause of action?
This cause of action is that these individuals are being disenfranchised from their ability to vote. And so I am representing those citizens.
Who appointed you to represent those citizens
The Dallas County.
against the state of Texas?
Yes. I want to be the representative.
Trail, I want to borrow it from you. Let me ask you, civil division, do we have a right to bid this lawsuit?
Well, that's asking the same.
Well, no. You ask them all.
Same thing about,
You
that's why I'm
ask.
asking. the district
Well,
attorney.
no, I don't want to talk.
Okay, yeah, let's hear this. In other words, what you're telling us today is there's no way that Dallas County would be kicked out based on no standing. If you want to tell me that, I'm good.
Oh, you're good, you're gonna vote for it?
No, I'm good to move on to another point.
We have a legal basis to join this lawsuit, and yes, we have a right to bring this lawsuit.
I just
So
asked.
you, in your opinion, the civil section, Dallas County's not going to get poured out for not having standing.
Because it's that, now that's unfair. You can always, you know that now, as a lawyer, you're a lawyer, you know you can always get poured out. And if you get poured out, you get poured out. So then we have nothing to bring.
Well, let me say this, the county has historically stayed above the political, the purely partisan fray to the benefit of our taxpayers. It's a dangerous precedent to be committing the treasury of Dallas County for purely partisan politics. That's what political parties are for. As a matter of fact, you know, as we open that door and we go down that road, where does that stop? In other words, are we going to give our district attorney the authority to file lawsuits on abortion, on Obamacare, on Medicaid, and everything else that comes down the road, just because that's the thing to do?
But
In other words, this,
unfortunately, those are not civil rights violations.
well, they certainly can be.
Well, I guess you can make anything a civil
That's
rights
right.
violation, but as somebody who probably has a little bit more standing, I'm still, you know.
Well, the issue that's trying to be addressed today is an issue that's at a much higher and global level in Dallas County. In other words, the state
I agree.
is involved as well as the federal government. To date, the Department of Justice, who has all the resources of the federal government, has not intervened in this lawsuit. They have not asked for an injunction. They have not done anything.
I think they've made their intention.
Well, making intentions is one thing.
Well, I
And,
agree.
and if the federal government's going to weigh in, then why is Dallas County weighing in?
Well,
Spending our
because,
taxpayer dollars?
I mean, I said they made their intention known, but I do think we have an obligation to whatever group of disenfranchised citizens that we represent in Dallas County to weigh in for their civil rights in their behalf.
Well, I think this is purely my opinion. I think these individuals brought this lawsuit. It's gone nowhere. Nobody's been served. None of the defendants have been served today. The lawsuit hadn't moved anywhere. And then all of a sudden, bam, the plaintiff's attorney, you represent the Democratic Party for the state of Texas, is that correct?
I also represent Republicans.
Okay, but you represent the Democratic Party in the state of Texas.
That's one of my.
Okay, you and the judge also teamed up to sue Dallas County at one time, is that correct? For
We
voting
represented similar parties in voting cases.
against Dallas County?
That's true.
Okay,
We won
right, you took Dallas County taxpayer dollars, absolutely.
and fixed our broken system.
Well, that's a matter of opinion. So I guess, here's the thing, you've got individuals that are in this lawsuit that historically, Mr. Dunn, let me ask you this question. The other plaintiffs in the lawsuit, are they in a position to what level are they in a position to help fund this lawsuit?
Each one of them is going to contribute to what extent I can say.
Are they wealthy individuals?
I don't actually know some of their wealth.
Okay. Have any of them put up money in this case?
Yes,
Okay, and can you give me a ballpark on that?
not without divulging attorney-client privilege information.
Okay, so, so my opinion would be that the reason why you're here today asking Dallas County to join this lawsuit is so that the treasury of Dallas County taxpayers can be used in order to further this lawsuit.
Much as the state tax dollars are being used to further the Colorado Eagle.
I didn't say that was correct or not correct. I'm just talking about, I've been elected to protect Dallas County taxpayer dollars.
Really?
And this is a purely political situation that has historically been handled by the parties involved. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat or Liberal, Green Party, whatever it is. This is not something that our taxpayers should be on the tab for.
You should take that up with your attorney general.
Yes, sir.
I'm talking about in Dallas County. Okay?
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to address you. We've gone down this rabbit trail. This is strictly about us protecting citizens of Dallas County, their ability to vote. So I would ask that you give me the opportunity on this lawsuit.
I think we want to hear from all the members of the court, but I think to put this into perspective, the Attorney General's own data proves that Hispanics are 46% more likely to lack a form of acceptable photo ID to vote than non-Hispanic Anglos. Other studies show that Hispanics are 120% more likely to lack that form of ID. There are studies that show that up to 25% of African Americans may currently lack the form of ID necessary to vote in person under this law. That is what we're here for today. Are there any other comments before we vote?
Yes, they are, Judge. And let me start by saying that I, respect my district attorneys, and I respect you and all my colleagues. I hear about this lawsuit, which was filed, by the way, last June. Last Friday, almost at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Okay, I was very honest with you, and I told you, Judge, I have some questions. My questions are, how much money is going to go into this lawsuit? And not only from Dallas County, I'm asking from the congressman, how much money for other Latino organizations, how much money, if there's some other Latino organizations there, how much money will this lawsuit take? I know the state is putting $2 million. How much are we going to put? Nobody has been served, like Commissioner Cantrell said. The lawsuit was filed last June. It will not go to court till June next year. I asked for 1 week to review this lawsuit. God knows, Judge, that I believe in it. God knows that I believe in, protecting people from being disenfranchised. But when I have questions, and my job as a commissioner is to ask questions and to protect Dallas County taxpayers' money. And when I ask for 1 week and I'm told no, it's now or never, or you might not be in it, I take that as my questions are not important. And I believe they are. I believe I have the right to ask, how much money is right now into this lawsuit. And how much money do we think we will have to pay to be successful?
Mr. Dunn, could you?
And Mr. Dunn, say that he thought, that it might be $400,000, but it'd be more because we're fighting against 2 million. And I understand, Mr. Dunn, trust me, I know your position as well. But, in my case, I want 1 week. I find out about this lawsuit, like I said, last Friday at 5 o'clock. When it was filed, more than a month. So, with that being said, Judge, at this point, without having the opportunity to review this, I am very sorry because I believe in those. I believe in the big picture. I cannot vote being pressured like this. Thank you.
Mr. Dunn, can you explain to us, again, what the urgency of making a decision and voting on this week is? And what would be the ramifications of waiting another week?
Sure. The court is having a hearing. The court that's handling this case in San Antonio, Corpus Christi, is having the hearing at the end of September. And so it's incumbent upon plaintiffs in the lawsuit to get their final lawsuit on file and serve the state so they have sufficient notice of the hearing at the end of September. And so that's what the time crunch is.
Nobody has been served as today.
That's exactly right. That's by
So
design.
1 week will not kill you.
But he also said that they were going to be served by the end of the week.
They will have plenty of time, 1 week.
Well, one week won't do it if you gotta be served by the end of the week. I mean, either yes or no, And I appreciate your professions in terms of ideologically supporting and all, but, the performance is, and I think there was an amendment in terms of the order that was put forward to remove the issue with regards to compensation, expenses. I heard that was the amendment that was put forward. And that's what you're asking for in terms of the data. So it's been removed.
Commissioner, I will never put myself in a position that I have to commit to more money. Of what, without knowing the big universe, I will not be able.
Mr. Dunn, are you asking this court today to commit?
No,
to
Judge,
expenditure
I
of any
understand
money?
perfectly what they're asking. They're asking us to join a lawsuit. That I understand. Okay? What I do not know is how much money Mr. Dunn has and will have. And I think that 1 week will give him an opportunity to go to his plaintiffs and have a better idea. And then I know if I'm asked to, give 100, 200, 300, 400, or $1 million. And that is my issue.
But you don't have to give anything. You don't have to give a dime, not 1 penny.
I don't know
Commissioner,
that,
it's
Commissioner.
committing. It's committing to
I
something
don't know
before you
that.
even know what you're putting into.
No.
You make the commitment.
You make
It's
it.
harder to get out of.
Well, no, it's not.
Oh, yes, it is.
It's not.
Sort of like that Medicaid stuff.
And again, that is my personal feeling, my respect to everyone here, because I definitely believe that the lawsuit is important, but I'm not committing to any money from Dallas County without knowing how much money you'll have in your bank account, Mr. Dunn, and that is my point to you, Judge. I think 1 week will give us all the opportunity to feel a lot more comfortable about this. I don't like to be pressured into a decision when it's about Dallas County taxpayers' money. Thank you.
I was elected to this position as commissioner to providing a variety of services to the county. Primarily, I consider this to be a budget job, where we do look at the taxes collected by Dallas County, how they're spent for the betterment of the residents of Dallas County. Looking at the responsibilities on our plates, public health, public safety, elections is also within that purview. So that I see that it is our responsibility as elected people in Dallas County to do what we can to protect the voting rights of the residents of Dallas County. On a very personal level, this lawsuit is the right thing to do because at the moment, our state tax dollars are being used effectively to disenfranchise not only us here in Dallas County, but across the state. And that is wrong, but that's on somebody else's head, that's on somebody else's plate. On our plate here is looking at, as people, each of these individuals here, and Dallas County folks, you know, what's the impact on us of the voter ID laws? And I see that there is harm, and so that the lawsuit is the right thing to do. Second point, though, is the responsibility to Dallas residents on how we do spend those dollars. I have been assured at this point that we will be able to evaluate, we will be given, and will only relate to the expenses of the lawsuit. It will not be attorney's fees, but the expenses of the lawsuit, and that we will be fully and completely informed of what those expenses are, and will then be able to make a decision as far as what the commitment is of this court and of this body. So that being said, even though I do share the very same questions of who else is going to be involved in the lawsuit, how is this going to proceed? What will the expenses be? What will be the time frame? What are the liabilities of the county? And those are all very, very real questions. But to say that the voting rights of the residents of Dallas County are not worth our time, are not worth our investment, especially when you do see the number of decisions that we do make. There is public health, there is West Nile virus. We must, as a county, protect our residents there. And I'm not sure that I see that much of a difference between the protection of our public health, the protection of our public safety, and the protection of our rights to express in a democratic society our opinions. Therefore, I will be in support of going forward with the county in the fight and allowing our district attorney to represent properly the residents of Dallas County in this lawsuit, with the understanding that we will be given full information and will be able to adequately make the subsequent decisions about the ifs and whens and the amounts of monies that would be allocated.
All the questions. Jeff, question has been called. All
I do have one question for the DA's office.
one question and answer. The question's been called, and we'll take a vote. Go ahead.
Okay, it appears to me that the county judge has a conflict of interest in this case. If you look at the current plaintiff from Dallas County that's in the lawsuit, that is a former contract employee of the judge, as well as his relationship with the law firm, the financial relationship that he's had with the law firm. So can I get the DA's opinion on that?
I don't believe that there is a conflict of interest involved here, Commissioner Cantrell. This is a pre-existing lawsuit that we are joining. It has been on file for a while. Apparently, the plaintiff's firm got involved in it very quickly after the Shelby case was decided. We got involved much later in time, but I don't believe that there was some kind of bring us along to fund this kind of discussion. We